website. Do hit subscribe. I do appreciate it. And if you enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up afterwards, okay? Twitter, type in the search bar, Always Irish or at JKZND. For emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, get me anywhere you want me. Merchandise link below. Get your go away NCAA shirt today. Let them know that they are worthless, that everything they do makes no sense, has no value, and their sense of self-importance isn't warranted. Nobody needs them. Nobody likes them. Now, let's get into this topic. I'm going to try and stay calm, okay? You know me, Mr. Calm. I'm going to stay calm. So after months of rumblings and rumors from those in the know, it's official. 4 or 5-star wide receiver, depending on where you're looking, Jordan Johnson has entered the transfer portal and will leave Notre Dame. Now, surprise to some people, not a surprise at all to most people, or anybody that's tied into anything. Nobody around the program shocked by this. This has been somewhat kind of expected, and I've been hearing rumors and rumblings about it for a long time now. Months. Lots, and I mean lots, of very strong reactions on Twitter to this news coming from every angle. Against the kid, against Dell Alexander, against Brian Kelly, whatever. Okay? So here's what I think. Overall, something is not clicking with the wide receiver situation at Notre Dame. Too much potential. Not enough plays made on Saturday from this group right now. Okay? Is this on the kid? Is it on BK? Is it Dell Alexander? Is it not recruiting RKGs? Here's the truth. It's probably a blend. It's probably a blend. I think we all want to be able to point to one thing or one person and say, that's the problem. Let's fix this. It's this one thing, this one guy, this one mind frame, whatever it is. I don't think you could do that in these situations. One is we don't know all the details. We know some of them, but it's probably a blend, okay? In this case, from all I've heard and read, the kid just wouldn't do his schoolwork. He just wouldn't do his schoolwork. Super frustrating that you have this opportunity to get into Notre Dame and play football and graduate. And everything I was told is, main issue is the kid just didn't do his work. Now, how can you blame Kelly? The kid could get into school, but then he literally just wasn't doing the work, wasn't turning in assignments. What can Kelly do at that point? Now, I'm going to get to Kelly because there is something with this dynamic that I think he could have tried. And it's something I would have tried if I was in his position. But overall, if you got a kid that just isn't getting with the program and isn't doing his schoolwork and it's a repeated issue, then you have other DULOC violations going on that coincide with that. This is just a bad dynamic. It's a bad dynamic, but that's on the kid. He knew coming to Notre Dame what was expected in the classroom, and it doesn't appear that he held up his end of the deal. So that puts everybody in a bad position. This isn't. He tried really hard, but he was testing bad and needs help getting through Notre Dame. That's not what this was. That's a different dynamic that would be handled differently than simply, I'm not turning in this assignment because I chose not to do it. Those are two totally different academic issues. If a kid's trying really, really hard and is struggling, You can work with that kid. But if a kid's just not doing his work, there's just not that much that could be done, and that ain't going to fly at Notre Dame. Period. So, how is that on BK or Dell or anybody else? I don't know. Probably isn't at all. Brian Kelly can't make the kid do his homework. It's not his second grader where you sit him at the table and make him do multiplication. But, on the other hand, could Brian Kelly have dangled more of a carrot for this kid with playing time or something in some way? Give this kid more of a reason to get his head on straight in the classroom? Do you follow what I'm saying? Like it just seemed to me that he was in trouble and then just kind of written off. I think there's another path that could have been taken where you're kind of dangling this carrot of playing time as a motivator to see if that'll get him going. But Brian Kelly borderline threw the kid under the bus in front of the media and was open with saying he has academic issues. So then everybody figured this kid's dumb or not trying because it's out in the media. So could Kelly have found a Holtz way to reach this kid? A unique way, pull him aside, say, listen, you're really, really talented. We really, really need you. We're going to get you some snaps, but I got to have you turn in these assignments. Like, I'm just thinking of any other way Brian Kelly could have tried to dangle more of a carrot to this kid that if he wanted football enough, he'd jump through the school hoops enough to do it. Now, maybe that happened and failed. Maybe Kelly did do exactly what I said. I just don't know about it. Maybe that is what happened. I don't know. But the way I see it is, he got behind in school. That started going bad. Then you're playing catch up from behind, or you're still behind. He didn't see snaps in his immediate future on the field. So at that point, sometimes kids are like, whatever. The snowball's rolling downhill, and I can't do anything to stop it. He didn't see playing time in his immediate future anyways. Maybe it's just one of those, it is what it is, and whatever happens, it's going to happen. This is what happened, okay? So the other thing is, with my idea of dangling more of a carrot to try and entice him to, that if he loved football that much, dangle some snaps in an actual game in front of him to get him through the hoop or whatever. You may say that carrot idea isn't fair to the other players that are in good standing or whatever. Fine. Brian Kelly's job is to win games. And this kid was supposed to be super, super talented. It's his job to find a way to get these kids on the field. So maybe he did dangle more of a carrot and even that didn't work. But that's the only other thing I think Kelly could have done. Okay? So it is what it is. More unrealized potential from the wide receiving group at Notre Dame. The funny part is, it's really funny how much social media reaction transfers get is directly correlated to the number of stars next to their name. This is a 2-star kid. Nobody bats an eye. It's an open roster spot. It's a 4 or 5-star receiver we all want to play in a position group severely lacking leadership and elite talent. People don't react well, myself included. This position group is so frustrating. Just so frustrating. Okay? So, listen, this happens to every team. Every team loses guys to the portal. It's easier now to transfer than ever with the one free transfer, no sit out. Kids that don't get playing time go where they are getting playing time. I get all of that. But I'm not worried about every other team. I'm worried about my team. So I don't care what happens with the transfer portal with everybody else. I care about what happens to us. And this is a position group that couldn't afford this. And here we are. So you wish the best for the kid, but it just wasn't a good fit. Even if you absolve Brian Kelly, Dell, Reese, whoever else of all the blame and put it on the kid, the wide receiver room overall is a huge problem that needs to be talked about. From 2019 and 2020, those two recruiting classes, Notre Dame has a grand total of 2 wide receivers still playing wide receiver in the program from those 2 recruiting classes. Outside of the senior class, there's only 5 receivers in the whole program. In this modern age of college football, this is almost impossible to pull off. Almost impossible to pull this off with these numbers and how jacked up they are. There are not enough words that can describe being in this position in modern day college football at a major program. They don't have enough receivers. How is this freaking possible? In a sport that is now more than ever focused on elite passing and wide receiver play, we got 2 guys over 2 years. It's a failure. It's not good enough. Something ain't working in the equation. Evaluation, RKGs, recruiting, development, system fit, a quarterback that could throw the ball down the field like a modern offense. I don't know what it is, but I know it's a problem. The whole BK doesn't play them young thing is really a tricky debate, because when you look into it, what you'll find is the facts to prove or disprove that theory vary greatly. And depending on which group you're in, you're going to pull situations and players out of certain years that fit your narrative. It's kind of across the board based on the year, the talent, the injuries, the this, the that. Whether he plays enough guys young or not and whatever, that whole thing, it's tricky to have that discussion. But I will never forget, wasn't there a time where Claypool and Boykin were not starting because of Freddie Canteen and whatever Cam Smith is? Come on. Give me a break. And that's the thing. It's like, John, what do you mean we don't have good wide receiver play? Look at what Boykin and Claypool are now. Here's the problem. Those guys are great NFL players, and they were only good in Notre Dame for 1, maybe 2 years. That's not enough for guys that have that talent and those bodies. That's my point. That's not enough. Those guys need to be great for you for 3 years and go to the NFL. Not 1 year or not 2 years. And they go to the NFL and they're great. You should have figured out how to use them earlier. That's my contention. But no, Freddie Canteen. I'm drinking out of my canteen. This wide receiver thing is driving me freaking crazy. Figure it out. Figure it out. My solution, I say this half kidding, half not. Let Marcus Freeman go recruit wide receivers. He's doing everything else. He's got the magic touch defensively. Let him go recruit some wide receivers. Who do I think I'm going to get a better, more energetic vibe from in my living room? Marcus freaking Freeman or Tommy Reese? It ain't even close. Those personalities couldn't be further apart. So, somebody has to figure this out, because that entire room and situation, something just isn't right. And I don't know what it is, but it ain't right. The numbers aren't right. The development isn't right. The leadership isn't right. The consistency isn't right. None of it's okay. None of it's okay. It isn't good enough for where this program is overall. That part of it isn't good enough. It's not. So overall, you could just chalk this up to a common run-of-the-mill transfer situation every school has. But when you look at the wide receiver room in whole, there's problems. There's problems. And I don't know why or whatever, but somebody needs to figure it out. Because it isn't good enough. There is a larger scale issue here that must be addressed, or we're never getting to the next step. Very, very simply. We're never getting to the next step without borderline elite or elite recruiting play, or wide receiver play and recruiting in that area. Did anybody ever think of that? Maybe that's why we don't get great receivers, because we don't have quarterbacks that can throw it to them. We don't have guys that can wing it down the field 60 yards and make these guys look good. Maybe these receivers see that. And that's why we're not landing as many elite guys. I don't know. But I am ready for some new blood. I'm ready for some new faces. Anybody want to step up and make plays? Deion Colsey, come on down. Watts, come on down. Guys like whoever, you're going to make plays. You could play. Okay? So I don't know what the deal is. It's super frustrating. I don't know. You could blame. It's just too hard. We don't know all the details. But all I know is what's going on in that wide receiver room right now isn't good enough. It's a problem. The numbers are a problem. It's just, it's uneven. I just don't. They need to figure some things out. So when we reconvene in late summer to get ready for fall, I got to see some guys stepping up, some new names, some old names that are now healthy, whatever it is. We got to get more life out of that position group. As for Johnson, I wish him well. Notre Dame just wasn't a good fit for him. It just sucks that he's such a highly rated guy. Couldn't have been a 2-star guy. Has to be one of the more athletically gifted one. That sucks. And the fact that it's in a position we're struggling at sucks. But here we are. So here's to hoping in the fall we figure it out. But for now, extremely frustrating across the board. Later.